Part 26.42, Surah Ash-Shu'ara, the Poets. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sufi Essence with Hammad Syed. Kanzul Aman, Qur'an, Ash-Shu'ara, the Poets. Chapter 26, verse 208. And we did not destroy any town, but for it there were warners. Having concluded the severe and absolute pronouncement regarding the inevitable and sudden doom of the heedless deniers whose fleeting worldly pleasure was destined to be of no use, verses 201 to 207. The divine narrative now pivots from the specific individual fate of the Meccan disbelievers to establish a universal, foundational, and immutable principle of divine justice. This principle roots all prior warnings in an indisputable historical precedent and an absolute theological fairness. And we did not destroy any town, but for it there were warnings. This verse serves as the absolute, non-negotiable defense against any accusation of arbitrary or impulsive punishment to common limited claim that human beings in their restricted perspective and lack of true ilm often level against the transcendent Creator. The declaration establishes a universal unchanging law of history and divine interaction, Allah, and His perfect justice and boundless compassion, Ar-Rahim, never utterly destroys a community or a town without first providing sufficient, repeated, and unequivocally clear warnings. The term warners connects this verse directly back to the essential, defining, and selfless role of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as stated earlier, so that you may be among the warners, verse 194. This structural consistency emphasizes that the entire process of accountability is uniform for all time and all nations, demonstrating the timeless integrity of the prophetic tradition, a single, unbroken chain of guidance. The core mechanism of divine interaction with humanity is guidance followed by accountability. A structure that ensures destruction is never the first option, but the final, last, and inevitable resort. The presence of a warner is the metaphysical prerequisite for justice to be served, making the people's subsequent destruction a fully documented and self-inflicted consequence of their own willful and prolonged rejection of the luminous message. The phrase, "we did not destroy any town," underscores Allah's profound patience and absolute forbearance al-Algam, highlighting the long period of respite and the continuous stream of guidance He provides before the irreversible decree is issued. This refutes the implicit complaint of the deniers that they were not given sufficient opportunity or clear signs to avert their fate. The spiritual lesson for the sophisticated seeker is the immense value placed upon the message and the messenger. The warners are the very embodiment of Allah's mercy. Their presence is the external criterion for salvation, a benchmark set by the Creator Himself. Their warnings are a form of pure ilm that, if heeded and integrated into the very fiber of the kalb, guarantees safety. This verse provides immense solace and strategic perspective to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the believers, confirming that their immense efforts to call people to the truth are never in vain, and that Allah's judgment is always preceded by His mercy and unwavering justice. The Sufi understands that the inner kalb also acts as a spiritual town, a city of the self, and Allah sends countless inner warnings and sights. Intuition, conscience, spiritual signs before spiritual destruction overtakes the soul, emphasizing the profound parallel between external and internal accountability. This immutable principle ensures that no soul on the day of judgment can stand before the Creator and claim they were entirely without knowledge or warning, completely closing the door on excuses and self-justification. Kanzul Aman, Qur'an, Ash-Shu'ara, the Poets, Chapter 26. Verse 209. To admonish, we are never unjust. This verse continues and completes the preceding declaration, verse 208, articulating the explicit, compassionate, and precise purpose of the warners in providing the ultimate, unchallengeable seal of divine fairness and perfection upon the entire historical and theological process. To admonish, we are never unjust. The infinitive to admonish clarifies the precise, gentle, and recurring nature of the warner's mission. Admonishment means to remind, to stir the dormant memory, and to recall to consciousness the forgotten truth of the covenant with Allah Ta'ala and the ultimate reality of the hereafter. It is fundamentally not an act of coercion or intellectual subjugation, but an appeal to the inherent pure ruh within the human being, the ruh that already possesses the latent, intuitive knowledge of its creator, the fitra. The prophet's role, therefore, is not to invent a new truth, but to reactivate the primordial memory LM that resides deep within the recesses of the Kalb. This purpose directly counters the accusation of being a mere poet or madman. A poet seeks to create or invent, but a warner seeks to remind, restore, and call back to an original, pristine state of being. The final, absolute, and most crucial part of the verse is the statement, "And we are never unjust." This phrase is the ultimate proof text for the principle of divine justice. It confirms in the strongest possible language, using the negative form to convey absolute transcendence, that the destruction, failure, or ultimate spiritual demise of any community or individual is solely the result of their own deliberate actions and their persistent, willful rejection of the clear admonishment and warning is absolutely transcendent and supremely incapable of the capacity for injustice, which is an imperfection that befits only created, limited beings whose actions are constrained by ignorance or need. This assurance of perfect justice is essential for the stability and coherence of faith, ensuring that the believers understand that the impending doom of the deniers is not arbitrary, but a consequence of their refusal to activate the truth in their Kalb. For the sophisticated seeker, this verse emphasizes that the path of Sufi is the ultimate, total acceptance of this admonishment, realized through a constant state of internal remembrance, dickered to ensure that the initial warning never fades and the Kalb remains. Illuminated by the pure light of the knowledge of Allah, this purity of motive and absolute justice of the Creator provides the strongest, most rational motivation for continuous obedience to Allah's laws, which are themselves rooted in His desire for human flourishing and protection from self-inflicted harm and injustice. The sequence here provides a complete framework for accountability. A warning is given, its purpose is clear, and the consequences are entirely fair. Kanzel Yaman, Qur'an, Ash-Shu'ara, the Poets. Chapter 26, verse 210. And the devils did not bring it down. The narrative now returns forcefully and directly to the specific. Insidious accusations leveled against Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, by the Meccan deniers, who sought to discredit the Qur'an by attributing its sublime content to malicious, hidden sources, such as soothsayers or poets inspired by jinn. This transition serves to confirm the impeccable quality of the message after the integrity of the process of warning and justice has been established. And the devils did not bring it down. This verse is an absolute categorical denial of the claim that the revelation was the work of the devil's shaytan, or the jinn, or that the prophet, peace be upon him, was possessed or a practitioner of sorcery or divination. This accusation was a common tactic used throughout history to dismiss messengers, particularly by those who could not refute the message's internal coherence, its profound moral content, or the messenger's blameless established character. By explicitly stating that the devils did not bring it down, Allah draws a sharp, unbridgeable metaphysical distinction between the sending down of the sacred Qur'an by the trustworthy spirit, verse 193, and the deceptive whispers, chaotic inspirations, and fabricated lies that flow from the realm of the demonic. The eloquence, the moral consistency, the predictive historical accuracy, and the profound legal and theological depth of the Qur'an are inherently and demonstrably contradictory to the nature of the devils, whose works are characterized by confusion, internal contradiction, immorality, and self-serving chaos. The spiritual lesson for the sophisticated seeker lies in understanding the critical difference between genuine ill and false inspiration. The true word of Allah aims to purify the Kalb, elevate the soul, Tor-Tadi, and establish justice all things that are fundamentally anathema to the devils. The purpose of the devils is, conversely, to lead humanity toward heedlessness and transgression, exactly the state that causes the truth to pass through the hearts of the sinners, verse 200. This verse serves as a crucial theological defense, reaffirming the absolute, untainted purity of the source of the Ruh and the message, ensuring the believers have complete, unwavering confidence in the integrity of the book they follow, confirming it is not a concoction of dark forces, but the unadulterated word of the Lord of the worlds. Kanzel, Iman, Qur'an, Ash-Shu'ara, the Poets. chapter 26, verse 211. Nor does it suit them, nor can they. This verse provides a dual, definitive, and comprehensive refutation of the possibility that the devils mentioned in verse 210 could have authored or transmitted the Qur'an, addressing both their inherent moral disposition and their metaphysical capacity. Nor does it suit them, nor can they. The first part, nor does it suit them, refers to the disposition, moral character, and ultimate objectives of the devils. The Qur'an contains messages of strict moral accountability, the condemnation of injustice, the command to worship Allah alone, the elevation of the poor. It calls for profound self-purification and self-restraintal principles that are utterly inimical to the very nature and objective of the devils, whose entire existence is predicated on promoting misguidance, corruption, and chaos. Attempting to author such a book of perfect moral guidance is fundamentally unsuitable to their perverse, chaotic objectives, appealing to the audience's moral intuition regarding the true source of goodness and the nature of evil. The second part, nor can they, addresses their capacity and sheer power. This is the profound metaphysical rebuttal. Even if the devils were, hypothetically, to desire to mimic the divine revelation, they simply lack the inherent necessary power, the access, the intellectual and spiritual sophistication required to penetrate the celestial barrier and receive or formulate the word of Allah. The celestial region is protected by angelic guards from the attempts of eavesdropping jinn and devils. The grandeur of the Qur'an's style, its cohesive structure across its decades of revelation, and its sublime, challenging eloquence are simply beyond the creative scope of any created being, especially the morally and metaphysically deficient devils. For the sophisticated mind, this verse establishes the unique, unmatched stature of the Qur'an. It is protected by Allah's power from being mimicked, and its content is protected by the devil's own evil nature from being something they would even desire to produce. It serves as a comprehensive reminder that the true source of ilm is characterized by both internal integrity, moral consistency, and external, divine protection, metaphysical barrier. Kanz Iman, Qur'an, Ash-Shu'ara, the Poets, chapter 26, verse 212. Indeed, they are debarred from hearing it. This verse provides the conclusive and categorical physical reason for the devil's inability to transmit or receive the Qur'an, reinforcing the absolute purity and integrity of the divine source by describing the metaphysical reality of the cosmos. Indeed, they are debarred from hearing it. The emphatic term debarred signifies a profound, unbreachable metaphysical isolation and expulsion from the celestial sphere where the Qur'an descends, emphasizing a perpetual state of separation and exclusion. This debarment is a result of Allah's direct eternal decree, ensuring that the revelation remains pristine, entirely untainted by the influence of the demonic realm. This final statement completely seals off any possibility of the disbeliever's claim being true, transforming their desperate accusation into an evidence of the divine protection surrounding the message. It is a powerful image of celestial security, which is well documented in other parts of the Qur'an. The devils cannot ascend to the heavenly precincts, nor can they eavesdrop on the conversations of the highest angels, nor can they interfere with or distort the message as it is being delivered by the trustworthy Spirit. They are cut off, expelled, and rendered deaf to the celestial transmission. This truth, known only through revelation, becomes another intrinsic proof of the Qur'an's divine origin. The spiritual lesson for the sophisticated seeker is the ultimate confirmation of the source's purity. Spiritual path of purification of the qalb is the human attempt to ascend towards this purity, and the Qur'an is the tether that allows this ascent. If the devils are debarred from hearing the original source, the believer must ensure that their own qalb is not debarred from receiving and acting upon the message through the spiritual rust and accumulation of persistent sin, as discussed in verse 200. The integrity of the word is guaranteed by Allah's power. The integrity of the believer's response is the sole domain of their free will and the purity of their qalb. Hadith, the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught, "There is no one more jealous than Allah, and for that reason he has forbidden indecencies, both open and secret. And there is no one who loves to be praised more than Allah. And for that reason he sent down the book and the warners." Sahih Muslim, Hadith 1499. This hadith offers a profound theological explanation for the principles established in verses 208 and 209. Allah sends the warners and the book, the Qur'an, precisely because He loves to be praised, worshipped, and obeyed, and because His jealousy jayaka compels Him to forbid indecencies. The presence of warners is necessitated by the divine attribute of Allah's protective honor regarding His creation, which means He does not tolerate the corruption and transgression that the sinners, verse 200, indulge in. However, because Allah is never unjust, verse 209, the warners are sent to admonish and clarify the boundaries of the forbidden indecencies. This hadith shows the deep, interconnected motivation behind all revelation. It is rooted in Allah's perfect attributes, ensuring that destruction never comes without prior clear warning, and that the guidance is provided out of love for being praised by a pure creation. Let us now supplicate, drawing from the profound lessons of these verses, asking Allah to grant us a deeper understanding and to guide our every step. O Allah, grant us the spiritual wisdom to recognize when the oppressors project their own inner rage and spiritual turmoil onto the righteous. Guard our hearts from the fatal arrogance of worldly power that boasts of being a vigilant group, unaware of your absolute, all-seeing eye. Protect us from the destructive spiritual trap of deep attachment to gardens and springs and earthly treasures, which leads the soul away from your path. Make us worthy, through patience and faith, to be the inheritors of spiritual and worldly goodness, granted through your decree of ultimate justice. Grant us the grace to stand firm when the forces of denial pursue us, knowing that our ultimate security rests in your divine command. Instill in us the certainty that the end of worldly pursuit is ruin, while the end of faith's journey is the gift of your eternal proximity. Sustain us with your boundless provision, and save us from the pride that forfeits the akira for fleeting worldly gain. We ask for this spiritual clarity and victory through your magnificent names, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. May Allah illuminate your heart and mind with the light of this divine ilm. May He make your channel a beacon of guidance for all who seek spiritual clarity and truth. May your efforts be a source of immense reward, and may you be granted the highest stations of paradise. May the peace and blessings of Allah always be upon you and your loved ones. May He grant you unwavering steadfastness on the path of truth, and may your work be a testament to His magnificent names, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Amin.